Good morning. Well, that sounds cheery, don't it? It is colder than my wife when I buy another car. I mean, it's just cold. It's not freezing. Well, it is freezing, but it's not like Arctic cold. But, about like your wife when you bought one too many cars, she just kind of gives you that cold shoulder. Yeah, well, that's about how cold it is today. I think it's a whopping 28, 9, 30-ish degrees-ish. Supposed to be a whopping 33 today. But it's a sunny day, which is, sort of happy. I could probably go sit out in the sunshine, but nope, I'm going to be working on this. Yep, I know. Y'all are going, what? What? A Ford Fiesta, right? Fiesta. Not to be confused with siesta, which is sleeping. Right, take a little nap after lunch. I wish this was a siesta. I'd much rather trade this Fiesta for a siesta and just go in the house, take me a Sunday afternoon nap. Sunday afternoon naps are awesome, aren't they? I love them, but not getting one today because a friend of mine, she got intimate with a deer over here, but that's not what we're fixing. I don't really do body work for people. I might replace a panel or something, but just helping her out because, no offense for you mechanic guys, but y'all are expensive. Golly, how much money you gotta make? That's crazy. Of course, I guess if you're in the city or in the town, you gotta pay rent. I guess, I get it, but I don't have to do that. This shop is part of my house, part of my farm, part of my ranch, part of whatever you want. It's a chicken farm, right? And we got some ponies and we, the wife does all that. I just come out here and play with cars. But anyway, I did offer to go ahead and fix this. She needs an upper control arm. Basically, nope, that's kind of a lie. She needs an upper ball joint on the side she hit the deer with. No relation though. It does, for whatever reason, it's not related. It's just loose. But she needs an upper ball joint, and I found out that it's a press-in kind, and you can buy just the ball joint. But for $10 less, you can buy the whole control arm. Does that make sense? Doesn't make sense to me. Does that make sense to anybody out there? I don't get it. So I can buy the whole control arm, or for $10 more, I can go through the hassle of trying to press out the ball joint and press in a new one. Let me think about that for a second. No, I'm going to do the control arm. I'm a little worried it's the wrong part, because, I just am. Hopefully not. I don't know how many of you have ever gotten the wrong part before. Yeah. Once or twice at least, right, if you work on cars very often. So we'll see. So I just kind of picked the parts up after church this morning and, we'll see what we got. I think I'm going to compare them first before I go start taking things apart. But then again, this car ain't going nowhere until it's fixed. So even if it's the wrong part, it'll just sit here until the right part comes in. But you won't see the end of this video until I get the part, of course. But anyhow, so that's where we're at. There's been an epidemic of deer running out in front of people. I hit one with my daughter's Cadillac. You've yet to see that video. I still haven't fixed it because I just fixed it and hit a deer, and I was like so mad. So I got to fix it. And then this young lady, a friend of mine told me he just got his truck fixed from hitting a deer. Another friend of mine hit a deer twice, fixed his truck and it hit again like a few days later. He was not happy. And then I was out with the wife. We went out to dinner the other day, and you saw that video where I cut the video early so I could, take my wife out. Well, she took me out actually to dinner. And on the way to dinner, a deer jumped out in front of us. But she's got one of them fancy European cars, not to be confused with European, but European. No, you're not a peon. You know what I mean, right? From over the pond somewhere. Anyhow. But she has those cars that like automatic braking. They see something come across the little camera or whatever, and it whacks them brakes. So she's like hitting the brakes, and that deer was so close I could count the ticks on his back. That's close. But fortunately, we didn't hit him. If we did, we just, hit the fur. We didn't actually hit the deer. So she was very fortunate because that would have been, and it's insured, but it would have been an expensive fix because she won't let me touch that car. She's a dealer only on that car. because the stupid thing, if you change the oil, you still got to go to the dealer to have them reset it. What? Yeah, that's the way they are. So you can't unplug the battery and do that old trick. Nope, it won't work. So you got to take it to the dealer anyway, and by the time they charge you to reset that stupid thing, they could have just changed the oil. So that's what she does. But it's okay, it's one less thing for me to do. But anyway, that's not neither here nor there. We're going to work on this thing. I know, it's a little out of the norm for me, but hey, you know, we do how-to videos here. The problem is, I don't know how to. So we'll be figuring on this while we're going. I don't have any books on this car. I told her she will have to get a front end alignment when I'm done. But I'm going to change the upper control arm. First I'm going to check to make sure it's the right one. And then we'll go from there. So let's get started. Phew. One thing I didn't mention is I have to replace the sway bar bushing as well. So that's right here. Okay, that's a lie. I'm going to check and see that it's the right one. And it looks like it's the right one. It does look a little bit longer, oddly enough. It really does. It looks longer. Weird. But it looks like the same part. And longer's okay, I think. As long as we can make it happen. Now if I get it out of the bag. Yeah, okay, got it out of the bag. Let's see. Nope, it's the same. Alright, but that's it. Nothing fancy. So I think we'll go ahead and get that knocked out first. But before that, let's check and make sure the upper control arm, which is here. Let's see if that's right. Well, let's see. Well, it kind of looks right. I'm going to say it is. I was skeptical because it was so cheap. Evidently, a Fiesta is not an expensive car to fix. Because if an upper control arm for just about anything else would be a lot of money, and this comes with a ball joint and everything. So I don't know. It's got a little note. Can't quite read it all. It says, "Do not fully something bushing until at ride height." Oh, okay. So they want me to load the suspension before I fully tighten the ball joint, I guess. No worries. We can do that. Oh golly. Let's see. Can I get at those? The bolts are here. I thought it was going to be up. I thought I was going to have to go out up in the engine compartment to get at those, but definitely not going to get at those with any kind of a pneumatic creature or any kind of automatic, turn it by pushing a button kind of mechanism. I'm definitely going to have to do the old wrenching on that, but not a big deal. There shouldn't be a ton of pressure on this. We'll pop the ball joint first and let her dangle. But I think before I do that, then there won't be any pressure on it. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and let's change this bushing. which is attached to the strut, so this won't really do anything. So let's go ahead and change that first. This looks like the right part, and then we'll go ahead and do that. 14 millimeter open end wrench, and this is taking the sway bar bushing out. And that thing is, you can see it, it's like loose. As I'm messing with it, you can see it popping in and out. So I don't know that we're going to have too terribly much difficulty with this. But I shouldn't say that, because as soon as I say that, I'm going to have too terribly much difficulty with this. So far, so good. I'm trying to keep my hands and arms and everything out of the way. I think I'm going to have to move my light because it's not helping me see anything. So let's go ahead and put it up here. There we go. Well, now it's totally in the way. Oh, that's because I'm standing on the cord. You know. Come on. Yeah. It's not cooperating. No, that's not going to work. How about that? Sure, that works. I was a little worried that this was going to spin, because it's a ball joint situation. I was worried it was going to spin on the, you know, on the inside of the ball part of it. Wow, that's kind of stiff. But nope, it seems to be alright. We can get, you know, an electric and or air ratchet on the other one. But since I got this wrench in my hand, we may just go ahead. It's a ratcheting wrench, 14 millimeter. Yep, I know you guys are actually sitting here watching me turn this nut a half a turn at a time. I will usually fast forward something when it gets to this point, but is it even going? Uh-oh. I think it is just spinning and spinning and spinning. Yep, it's spinning. It's what I expected to happen. So the way we deal with that is usually, well, I can take this off, and then this will flex out of my way, and I can get something a little bit more aggressive on there. So let's go that route, because, yep, they inevitable happen. Now, one way, and we'll try it this way just for, sometimes you can get something in here and just pry on it, and that'll keep that from spinning. Or you can just get a pneumatic something or another on it, which is probably what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and take this bolt up here out, which is just holding this brake line. It's just a bracket. And then the brake line will flex out of the way. So let's go ahead and do that. I believe that's going to be 10 millimeter. All right. There we go. Now that makes, now I get this out of the way. I'm just going to basically flip her up here out of the way. And then I can get in here with a pneumatic, well, I call it pneumatic, it's a impact wrench, and that's 14 mil, so I'm going to get an impact wrench. We'll come in here with a swivel, and that should, keyword being should, zing right off. I got a little swivel on here just to make life easy. Alright, we're going to have to do what I said. We're going to have to put something. Oh, look at that. It's got an Allen head right in here to hold it still. I guess they were contemplating this happening. Has the new one got that? It does. Well, look at that. They thought of everything. It's got a little Allen head, I believe. It's an Allen head right here. So we can put the Allen head on there and hold it still while we crank the other part out. I'm going to throw a little penetrating oil on there too. Alright, I've got a ratchet on there holding that socket. I could have put the ratcheting box, I guess, on it now, but yeah, that works. Well, they thought of everything. So, of course, I'm probably blocking the camera now, but it's working. Let's do it this way. And I didn't put the penetrating oil on it, like I said. I'm going to go get some because she's a little stiff. are stiff. I think I'm going to eliminate the extension here. It's causing me a little bit of grief. The only problem is this, there we go, this hose. I think that's going to make it, oh yeah, lots better. Wow. She's a stiff one. Coming. It's a coming. This is going to be one of those half turn at a time cars. There we go. Little by little by little by, step by step by step by step. Wasn't that like a song in the 80s? I think it was. Something like that anyway. But yeah, I guess Ford actually thought this one out and said, hey, we got to put an Allen head in there, otherwise you'll never get this apart. I'm glad that gives me a little bit better opinion of Ford. They thought ahead, you know. A lot of cars, you'd be sitting there wrestling with that or hacking it off with a torch. So, okay, 1 point for Ford. Wow. Wow, that's just yippee-ki-yay yahoo, I'm telling you. Yeah, I found out what the problem was, is I was turning it the wrong way. So now we got to figure out how I'm going to do this. Because I need a little more torque, but I don't really want to put an impact on it, because an impact is going to cause all sorts of trouble. It'll probably destroy the tool, and then where will I be? So let's just do this. Alright, well, so much for pure genius. We're just going to wrench on it. There ain't no playing with this one. She's just going to have to be done the old-fashioned way. Alright. And it's not too bad, actually. But once again, kudos to old Ford for thinking of that. You know, that's a really... because that would have been a humdinger trying to get that off of there without that Allen head in there. I'm going to point something out to you in a minute, as soon as I get this off of here. Yeah, this is old school, with a ratchet and an open end wrench or box end wrench. At least this is a ratcheting box end. That made life a little easier. Alright. The tool doesn't want to come loose. That's always a good one. Come on. There we go. Shoo. It's got these, you know, crush nuts. Well, the nylon little crush nuts, I guess you call them. And so we're going to have to put this one in here. And then that one in there. There we go. Come on. There we go. Wonderful. Because once these start to catch, they're probably going to, whoops. I'm probably going to have to put the Allen head back in there. We'll see. But we got these caught. I'm going to try to do it with a ratchet or with the pneumatic. We'll see what happens. Oh, those are bigger. Those are a different size. Well, it dipped in horse pucky. All right, where's my wrench? So, yep, 17 mil. I just went ahead and put it right on. This one actually I might be able to zing it on. Might could have zinged it. Whoa, if it'll just stay on there. Probably could have zinged it on with the. It'll stay on there. Dang. Yeah, it's not putting any pressure on the small one, so we could zing this on with the gun, no problem. All right, so we'll probably go ahead and do that. Just make life easy. That was easy enough. Now we got to go to this upper one. There we go. It's going to be the same thing. Just put a little extension on my gun here. Get that line up out of the way. Alright. Now I'm going to put the wrench on it just to get a little feel for making sure she's tight. That's the wrong way. I've always made a habit of tightening things by hand because a lot of times if you just tighten them up with a pneumatic, a lot of times you'll get, it won't be tight enough. I think what's happening there is she's spinning on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and put my socket back in there. Get this line out of the way. Yeah, I've done this because there was one time I did the brakes and it was on a Ford actually, on a Ford Exploder. And the pneumatic, I thought it was tight, and in reality it was not. And the guy come to me complaining that it was, yep, that's what was happening. And it was making a noise, and I looked at it, and the brakes had come loose. So I always check things by hand now. This one's tight. This one's tighter than my wife's pocketbook. All right. There we go. There we got the sway bar bushing in. Now it's time for the controller. On that sway bar bushing, it was really hard to tell if that wasn't any good. In fact, I kind of don't think it might have been. But this is the ball joint for the that definitely needs replacing. And I'm going to show you how I know. Watch. See it? See how it's moving? I'm not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be solid. So this definitely needs to come out. So I'm going to start by, we're going to take the ball joint off, and I'll take all the pressure off of this. Now my wheel is going to kind of flop over when I do that because this is kind of holding the wheel straight. This car is unusual. It's got struts and upper and lower control arms, which a lot of cars just have struts, and you can line everything through the strut. This one's got both. I don't know if I'd say that's better or worse. I'd probably say better, just because it eliminates if the strut blows out or goes bad, you still got some safety here. So I'd say this is probably not a bad design in my opinion. But who am I to criticize the geniuses at Ford, right? All right. So we're just going to zing this off of here. Yeehaw. All right. And now there's two ways to do this. And last time I did anything like this and showed it on camera, some people criticized the fact that I used a pickle fork. And this is how I judge how I do things. Okay, there's a boot here. If I have to reuse this ball joint, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to hit this piece with a hammer until this comes loose. Okay, but if I don't care about this boot, because I'm replacing this, so I don't care about this, so I'm going to use a pickle fork because it'll do less damage to this piece. Because this is the piece I'm keeping, this is the piece I'm getting rid of. So if that makes any sense, you can hit this with a hammer, just like this. Put a little pressure on this, upward or downward on this one. Hit this with a hammer, and this will eventually pop loose. Okay? You could hit here, but that would, and if you put the nut on there, you might be okay. But a lot of times that will mushroom this, and then you'll never get it out. It'll be a pain in the butt. So that's not a recommended idea. But I'm going to put a pickle fork in there just because I don't care if I damage this piece, but I do care if I damage this piece. So I'm just going to put a pickle fork in there to limit the damage on this. If I start hitting this with a hammer, even if I use a brass hammer, which is what you should use, it may still ding this up a little bit. And I don't want to damage the parts we're keeping. So that's basically my story there. So for all you guys that say, hey man, why don't you just hit this, get it to come loose, that's why. I'm not keeping the boot because a pickle fork will damage this boot. But if you are going to keep this piece and keep the boot, then by all means, go ahead and get a brass hammer, hit this until it comes loose. But I'm going to use a pickle fork because I don't care. There are two different size pickle forks. This one that I'm using is the narrow one because this is a pretty small ball joint. There's one that's wider. There might even be some bigger ones for trucks and what have you, and also what I call a BFH, big freaking hammer. Okay, yeah, you guys, some of you guys got dirty minds. You had a more vulgar way of saying it, but nope, big freaking hammer. All right, so now just going to whack this. This may come down a little violent, so just be prepared. Hopefully it won't hit the camera and end this video. But just going to smack this a couple times. There we go. And she came loose. Now you see it destroyed the boot. That's what it will do, so that's why you don't use a pickle fork if you care about this piece. Get this out of the way. That was easy. Wasn't very violent, was it? Alright, so that's why we do things the way we do them. The way we do the things we do. Yep. So there we go. Yeah, this was shot. But now I got to get these out of here. If I'm not mistaken, they got a nut on this side. I'm guessing. I'm going to try to just pull them out this way. I'm going to guess those are, what, 14 mil? So where'd that 14 mil go? Right here. So let's see. Nope. It's definitely smaller than that. Wow, it's pretty small. So let's get a 13 mil and see what happens. I'm going to tell you, the camera is right in my face. Oh, well, everything's dark. I can't see. Just kidding, the light fell, which it's right in my way. Trying to work with the camera. And so I'm just ratcheting the bolt, so you're not missing anything. And this thing is just, she's coming out though. Okay. Oh no, that's what I was afraid of. Well, we got lights back in here, but you see what's happening right here? We're going to put the light right in your eyes. There we go. Okay. The bolt hitting the spring. So I don't know. I was afraid of that. We're probably going to have to take the strut out. I knew this was going to be too easy. The only other option is maybe, just maybe. Let's see. This may be out enough to... Let's get the other one out and see if I can't, if the bolts aren't maybe long enough. This one looks like it's going to go between the coils, so we might be able to get this one out a little further. Golly. The camera's like in my way. Wait a minute, can you even see what I'm doing? Nope. So let's move the camera. There you go. Well, no, there you don't go. There we go. Okay, now the camera's not so much in my way anymore. There, look at that. So we got her down out of the way. You can see the dilemma. I may be able to compress the spring a little bit just to get it out of the way. We'll get to see just how much trouble we're in. If it hits the shock part of it, then we're going to have to take the strut out, which I'm not wanting to do. The strut's got to come out. Sway bar link had to come loose again, only one end. I took that line off. I did the top bolt on that because it's, basically the same thing. So basically undoing what I just already did earlier. I should have just left it undone. And then there's a bolt down here that has to come out. And that's actually all that's holding the strut in, is that big long bolt that goes all the way through. So I'm just going to zing it out. Hopefully the strut should be hanging already as far as it's going to go. This, however, is going to drop, which is okay. I'm going to hold it a little bit. There we go. And since my light's hanging onto this, that may go flying once again. Testing those LED bulbs to see if they're really any good. There's not a lot of pressure on it, so I'm just going to pull the pressure off with my hand. Oh, that wasn't bad at all. Okay. So the strut's loose. Now we got to go up. We got to lower the car. And I don't know what this big goofy washer's all about, but it is what it is. These three bolts right here hold in the entire strut mechanism at the top. We're just going to zing those off. And it's probably just going to fall on my toes. Yep, there it goes. And I'm just going to put these right here for safekeeping. Hopefully they won't fall into the abyss. Just taking those leaves out of there, there's, just for fun. All right, now we got to put the car back up in the air and take that strut out of the way. Now, theoretically, this strut should just come right out of here. But it may not have to, because if I can pull it forward enough, pull that out, pull that out, there we go. See that? Didn't even have to pull the strut all the way out. I mean, it's technically all the way out. But I don't have to finagle it past all this crap. Because look at that. Ta-da! La 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 la! Alright, now we'll just compare the two. Make sure they're right. This note came with it. And I'll kind of show you what this means, but I don't know if you'll be able to read that. But see, it says avoid premature bushing wear. Do not fully tighten bushing until suspension is at ride height. What that's going to mean is once I get it all together, I'm not going to tighten those last two bolts, the ones that I pulled the strut forward to get them out. I'm not going to tighten those bolts. I'm just going to, snug them by finger tight and get the strut all back in there, get this thing all put back together, and then I'm going to put a jack up underneath this wheel, and I'm going to put pressure on it so that it's kind of sitting where it needs to sit. And then I'll get in here and tighten it up. So that's basically what that means. You can't really do it at ride height. Well, I guess you could if I was on my 4-post board. I'd have to set it on the ground and then just kind of reach in there and tighten them up. But we'll go ahead and do it this way just by loading the suspension with a jack. That'll work out just fine. So anyhow, that's what we're doing. Okay, we're going to compare the two. Put them side by side. They look the same, right? Same. Same. They're pretty much identical. So, in the trash this one goes. And then we put this one in. Oh, it's got a fancy little doohickey on there we got to take off. Ta-da! We might leave that on until we get it in there, because keep it nice and safe, right? Not want to rip that boot. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one back in where that was. Again, we only have to move the strut forward to get it, and that's going to be, with these new bushings, it's going to be fun. Stay. Hey, listen, look at that. All right. Come on. There we go. I think that one's good. Oops. Forgot to move the camera. My bad. once again, there we go. Camera's in my way. The hazards of YouTubing. Now, remember what that said. You don't want to tighten these up until they're where they need to be. So we're just going to snug them. And then we got to put this strut back into place. So let's get a wrench. Alright. Alright, she's snuggish. The reason they do that is because you don't want to bind the rubber. See how the rubber still spins? I don't know if you can see that or not, but it moves easily. Oh, that one's not even all the way in there yet. Alright. There we go. That's better. Okay, now they're both in there loose. Now I've got to magically be able to put that strut back in. And I can't hold it and I can't hold it and put the screws in at the same time. So what I'm going to do is we're going to move the camera so you can actually see what I'm going to do. Aside from tripping on the cord, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the strut in position on here where it was. I don't know if you can hear me because I'm on the other side of the car, but I'm going to put the strut here. You see my hand? Oh yeah. And I'm going to put the strut in that spot, and that way I can put the bolt in. I need to be a little bit flexible to do this. I'm going to lift the strut up, and I'm going to line it up with that. Making sure we're not wrapped up around. We got a brake line that's kind of giving me some trouble, but that'll be alright. So we're going to put it where it needs to be. Put the bolt in. There we go. I'm going to kind of line the strut up a little bit. There we go. There we go. Now it's got a funky little nut like that, and what that does is it holds it for you so you don't have to worry about holding that nut straight while you're putting the bushing on. If I remember right, this is the one that was 15 millimeter. So we're going to go ahead and zing this on here. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think maybe I did something not right there. So let's take this back out. Okay. Something tells me I got the wrong size nut here. It was working for a minute there. No, that's right. What am I doing wrong? Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. Grabbed the 17, not the 15. It won't work, folks. If you put 17 mil on a 15, it won't work. Although it did seem to work up until that point. Alright, because this is going to have to go... Oh, I went the wrong way. Dang it. Alright. This needs to go up here. Nope, not there either. I think it goes... I don't know where it goes. I think it comes up here. No, because if I'm trying to... Let's see. If I'm tightening, yeah, it's going to go here. Okay. There we go. Yeah, it goes right in here. But you got to have that spaced in just the right spot or it can not go well, I'm guessing. Now, to get the strut back in, I'm going to have to play tricks here. Everything, nothing binding now. Well, it is a little bit. But we're going to have to get a jack up underneath here. At the same time, I've got to get to the strut at the top. So we're going to have to bring the car back down, put a jack stand underneath. So basically, let me show you what we're doing here. I'm going to bring the car down to earth, and I'm going to put a jack under it. So here's the trick to all of this. You've got to kind of be in two places at one time. So I've got to get this strut to line up, and I've got to jack it up at the same time. I don't know if you can see with my fat head in the way, but there we go. There we go. Okay. All right, got the 3 bolts lined back up. Go ahead and get them started. Then we get our 14 millimeter. Come on. Now I don't want to, like I said, I always do it by hand to make sure that I don't over tighten things or under tighten things. So I'm going to go ahead and just give these a little zing by hand. Oh gosh, they're good and tight, that's for sure. This one's kind of, oh, what happened there? Yeah, okay. Come on, that one just don't, that one's not friendly. Okay, yeah, they're good and tight. Okay. So that's the end of putting the strut back in. That wasn't too bad, right? Having to take that strut, even though it was a little disappointing to have to even do that, it really didn't take a whole lot more time. So we're golden on that. Let's get her back up in the air and finish putting it back together. Now we're going to go ahead and put this all back together. Take that little cap off there that I thought was kind of cool, that they put that on there to protect everything. And then you're just going to take this, move it. It's also holding up my light. There we go. Put this on there. There we go. Now this needs a little bit of Loctite, so let me go fetch some. I'll put some Loctite on there. We're going to put the never come off Loctite on there, the red stuff. So we're just going to put this in here, put this in the camera. I just put a little dab, 1 drop, inside the threads, and then put it on there. I think my blue tube's the one I used up already. So anyway, we're almost done, folks. Let's give that a little zinger. And that was 17 millimeter. Oh, well, this is a new one. It's still 17. And I need the swivel. What I do with the swivel? 2 hours later. No, I'm just kidding. Just a minute or so, but found the swivel. And there we go. Of course, I'm going to give that a little oompage by hand just to make sure she's tight. I'd be more than willing to bet she is, but you never know. It's always a good idea to check. Oh, nope, see that? She wasn't tight. See, sometimes, because of the way the pneumatics, the way they vibrate, if you got any kind of play, like in a swivel or on rubber, a lot of times they won't tighten. So that's why you always check them by hand. Always, especially lug nuts, same thing. Always check them by hand. All right, now we can go ahead and put everything back together that we had apart. We got the, let's see if I can, I just had this little one. Remember I took this out earlier? Put that back in. And that's just a bracket for the brake line. And then also, what you didn't see me take out, you heard me mention, is this little bracket for the speed sensor. So I went ahead and put that in there too. Take that out. That was actually just into the side of the frame here. Alright, and that one I never did go get a ratchet for. I just kind of did it by hand. So just bear with me as I do the same thing to tighten it up. It's got a little hole here that kind of holds it in place. The hole is for the little notch on the plastic bracket. Plastic, yay, it's there though. It's working. So I gave Ford the credit for a couple of things on this. The one I'm not going to give him the credit for is having to remove the strut just to get the control arm bushing out. I'm going to give them a minus on that one, but it wasn't too bad, as you can tell. It wasn't too big a deal. And then we're just going to zing that little bracket back on there. There we go. I think, oh my gosh. Oh, nope, almost forgot. Gotta put the sway bar link back on there. Oh, shoot. I went ahead and did it with I put the bracket back on before I could do that. Yeah, well, that won't take but a second to take back off. Got ahead of myself, I did. This is what happens sometimes, folks. You know, you don't do it every day. This is the first Ford Fiesta that I have ever worked on. So, as you can see, it's not rocket science, and I'm no rocket scientist. It's not that big a deal to take something apart. If you got a little bit of mechanical ingenuity. And let's see where that's going to go again. Why do I keep losing that thing? Alright, here we go. And if I remember right, those were 17 mil. What did I do with 17 mil? Ah, I found it. Okay. Come on. Get out the way. Here we go. Alright. Woohoo! Alright, once again, we're going to check this by hand. Oh yeah, I'd say that's good. We'll double check this one just for kicks and giggles. Oh yeah, she's tight. Alright. Now we can put that little bracket back in there. I think I've taken this bracket off like 4 times already today. That's the finishing touch. Well, what the heck? Come on. There we go. Alright. Woohoo! Let's go over everything. We've put the strut in. Everything's tight there, there, and there. We have sway bar links in there, tight. Bracket tight, bracket tight. We didn't take anything else off. This is not tight yet. Right here. This isn't tight yet because remember, it said to load the suspension before tightening that. Now, I don't know. Yeah, I sure can. So I've got to get my transmission jack up underneath here, and I'm going to load the suspension. All right, I got the jack up underneath the suspension. We're just going to jack her up until she loads. I'm going to watch very carefully. She'll start to come off the lift just a tad. Well, she's still on the lift. She's loading though. Okay, here you go. Now she's starting to just barely come off the pad on the lift. So I'm going to get my wrenches. Oh, total catastrophe. Tripping on stuff. I'm just tripping, man. I'm just tripping. Okay, now my arm's probably going to be a little in the way. But we're going to go ahead and tighten these up now. Now, that was snug-ish. You can see I'm all up in the camera here, I'm sure. See if I can do this without destroying things again. Nope, can't. Gonna have to get in the way. Alright. Alright, now, I've got them snuggish, but it's only with a short wrench, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get a non-ratcheting because the ratchet's not that strong. And I'm going to go ahead and put another wrench on it, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. And that way I can put some real good torque on those and make sure they're not going anywhere. Okay, 13 millimeter. This one's not going to be too bad because it's the position. The other one we got to go up with. So I've got a regular wrench on there. I'm doubling up the wrenches. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure she's good and tight. There we go. Alright. Same with this one, only unfortunately. Okay, let's get you out of here. There we go. Fortunately, this one has got to go upward. And that is going to be, I've got to figure out what the best recourse here is. I'll put the wrench here. Is that going to work? No, not really. Yep, that works. Okay. Now we got to go up with this one. So there's one. Woo! So make sure you throw the wrench on the floor because that is definitely helpful. Alright. Let's get you back in position. The cool thing about it is once we're done with this, we're done with this. I don't like the way that's on there. There we go. Alright. Well, I didn't like the way it was on there. Alright. Once again, double them up. There we go. Alright. Woo! Alright, and that's torque to, I'm going to say about 65 pounds. I think that'd be just about fine. Alright, this is good and tight. We went and checked it. Again, this is also has a one of those hex heads on there in case this spins. So I got to give kudos to Ford for doing that. That's a great idea. I've wrestled with enough ball joints to appreciate that little snippet of ingenuity there. Having to take the strut out to get those bolts out, they could have come up with a better idea than that, but it works. Alright, these are nice and tight. It's at ride height. Now before I let the lift down, I got to take this out, otherwise it's all going to come crashing down. But that's it. Put the wheel back on, and she's ready to go hit more deer. I don't like the way that one feels. Put a little juice on there. Just don't feel good. That's a little better. Still don't like the way it feels though. Now remember what I said. Always check your nuts after you put them on with an impact. So as soon as this hits the ground, I'm going to go ahead and check the tightness on these, and then she's done. Take her for a test drive. Alright. You Ford guys have every right to make jokes. I get it. The car's not a Fiesta. It's a Fusion. Should have thought of that, Back to the Future, fusion, what is that thing? Flux capacitor makes fusion go into the future. It didn't look anything like a DeLorean, so it threw me off. But yeah, it's a Fusion, not a Fiesta. I kind of had fun with the whole Fiesta thing, though, woohoo, Fiesta, siesta, go to sleep. But nonetheless, yep, anybody, feel free to laugh. Comments, you guys will be going, you're an idiot. It's not a Fiesta, it's a Fusion. And you'd be right. But here's the weird part. I got the right parts. How did that happen? The parts store either second guessed me, or they're just as dumb as me. It's funny because I did call Napa, and they said that car doesn't have an upper ball joint. I'm guessing they looked up the right part. They probably looked up a Ford Fiesta, and they said it doesn't have an upper ball joint. So, but I called another parts store, I'm not going to say which one, and they got the right parts in spite of the wrong information. So either they said, okay, he's not a Ford guy, he's an idiot, so we're going to figure this is what he means because there's no such thing as a 2007 Fiesta? Maybe? I don't know. I don't work on Fords. But nonetheless, it's a Fusion, not a Fiesta. So yes, you're correct. And I'm going to put, when I edit this, I'll make sure I put, nope, I meant Fusion. That way y'all won't think I'm a complete moron. You may think that anyway. Doesn't matter. I don't care. It's okay. I'm having fun out here. That wasn't really fun. That was a charity job. That was helping somebody out, helping her save a bunch of money. Because golly, you guys that do this for a living, you're expensive. I'm very glad I can work on most of my own stuff. I think the dealership's getting like $100 and something an hour. And that job was 2.5, 3 hours-ish. For me, anyway. Of course, if you know what you're doing and you do them all the time, you could probably whack that baby out in 1.5 hours, 2 hours. With me, kind of made a few mistakes. I always leave my mistakes in there. Some people get upset by that. They're like, why did you show us the wrong way? I already messed up following what you said to do. So be careful with that. If you're going to do what I do, understand that if I make mistakes, I'm going to show you those mistakes so that you don't make them. But anyway, that was a pretty cut and dry job, even though, I don't know if you call them mistakes. But yeah, I mean, I put stuff back together that wasn't ready to go back together yet because I didn't know how to take the strut out. But if you know you got to take the strut out, you can get that way ahead of the game. It didn't have to come out. It just had to move it, take out the top ones. I probably could have got away with not taking the bottom out. I'm thinking probably not. Just take the top ones out. I probably could have just moved it forward and got them out. So there you go. That's something you can play with. If you have to do one of these, try just taking off the 3 bolts on the top of the strut. See if you can push it forward enough to get the bolts out. If you can, woohoo! Now that I know that, I'll probably try that next time if I have to do this again. So here's my second Ford video. Woo! Big cheers! Because, yeah, I don't have a lot of Ford videos, and honestly, the one I do have, it's pretty popular. And was the most popular for the longest time. It was on a Crown Vic, or, well, Mercury Marquis, same thing. But Crown Vic. And very, very popular video for as far as my videos go. Not the most popular anymore, but it was for a long time. And so maybe this one will be popular too. But anyway, just helping somebody out, get the job done. I appreciate you watching. If this helped you to do your own job, fantastic. That's what this is all about. If you're just watching for entertainment, I'm cool with that. But either way, if this helped you out or if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and subscribe. If you've already subscribed, rock on. You guys are the reason why I do this. I've got big goals for this channel. Going to do some builds on it. Going to do some more how-to stuff. Shoots, I'm putting lights in on my shop. Just in case you want to put lights in. I showed a few things that don't do's and told you the proper way to do it. And the only reason I did it the wrong way is because it was already the wrong way and I just followed suit. I might fix it the right way at some point, but again, it's a metal building and there's nothing flammable around that. So anyway, you have to watch that video to figure out what I'm talking about. Nonetheless, this is the end of this one. Please subscribe. If you liked it, share it with your friends. Don't forget to mash the like button. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy. For you people who feel it necessary to put I don't like it, especially if you're a Ford guy and you find out I called this Fusion a Fiesta, Fiesta. Yep. Don't hit the unlike button. Golly, you can. Makes you feel better, but mean people suck. Don't have a whole lot of don't likes. But if you're gonna take the time to put a dislike on there, do me a big favor and tell me why you didn't dislike it. That way, I at least know if it's something I can fix, or if it's the fact that I called it a Fiesta instead of a Fusion. Yeah, well, can't fix it. It's done, right? I know that it's Fusion now. But yeah, that kind of stuff, but constructive criticism is always acceptable. Just being mean, I'm going to fire back. So if you're going to do something that's mean, I'm probably going to fire back one way or the other, because that's just how I am. And I actually, 99% of the time, if somebody does say something mean, my viewers, my subscribers, they will usually fire back for me, which is even better. Anyhow, nonetheless, if you feel the need to be mean, got to do what you got to do, make you feel better, right? But for you that like the channel, thank you so much. Appreciate you subscribing. I'm going to stop talking now. See ya.